in the learning community before being a facilitator, that was probably my favorite part, was getting connected and networking and learning for some other folks. Oops. Okay, I think I skipped. So if you are a social media addict and Jennifer's already taking pictures, thanks Jennifer. So if you're that person and you want to get on Instagram and you want to share your information, we'd love for you to post photos to our site. The hashtags being Valley LC and hashtag Building Resilience. And then just a little bit about the day. So in just a few minutes, Jennifer and Justin are going to come up here and spend some time with you. We'll have them and some activities that will take us up to lunch. We have an hour for lunch, and for those of you that aren't familiar with the area, I'm happy to share some suggestions of places you'd like to go to eat. When we come back, we're actually going to do a parent cafe with all of you. So I'm really excited about that because that's going to be a lot of fun. We also have one of our parents who's going to be joining us as a guest to offer just some perspective about her experience in terms of her involvement with a cafe that we host at one of our elementary schools right around the corner. And then we're going to spend some time in conversation and dialogue in the afternoon, learning and reflecting together. And then we're going to be giving away some fun stuff at the end, so folks that are online in Merced and here have an opportunity to be big winners. I'm sorry, it's not the Powerball, it's not the lottery, so it's not millions of dollars. Again, we're a nonprofit, so just want to remind everybody of that. If I could, I would definitely offer that. So we've got some objectives today. You've heard me talk a little bit about those. Really, one of the main goals for us is that we want to really deepen everyone's knowledge of the protective factors throughout the region, and we want to focus on resiliency. So I'm really glad that you're all here for the first one. What I want to do is to invite you to the second, third, and fourth one, because each one is going to be building off of the other. So this first one, we're looking at building resiliency through the lens of building social connections. So that's what we're talking about today. So that is one of the protective factors. The others, the next in December, we're going to be looking at concrete support and how we build resiliency that way. And then in February, we'll be taking a look at parental resiliency. And as part of that, we're going to explore a little bit about trauma-informed care. And then in May, finally, we're kind of combining two. We're going to look at supporting parental knowledge and education and the social and emotional development of children. So we have quite a lineup. And because we're kicking it off with resiliency through social connections, we're going to continue looking at resiliency. I hope that you will join us for the subsequent ones that come, because these are all connected. And I think is really going to hopefully build your knowledge as we move along. Just a little bit about protective factors. Is everybody here familiar with protective factors? Anybody? Is this new language to anyone? Okay. So no need for me to preach to the choir, but just a reminder that the Strengthening Families framework is built on these 5 protective factors that, as we've come to learn in the field, if families have, or the amount of protective factors that they have, or the strength of these protective factors, are really strong indicators as to the health and well-being of their family and so of their children. So that is why we know this work is so important that you're all doing, and we're just really happy to reinforce that with our focus today. Okay. So I'm going to ask Jennifer and Justin to come up, and we are going to move right into their presentation. I'm going to move this podium out of the way, though, so you'll be able to see them, and our friends in Merced County can see them as well.
Before we get started, I just want to pass out the evaluations because we're all about collecting information from you all. And so if we'll just put them on the tables before you leave today. If you can just make sure that you complete those and just leave them on the table, that would be great.
This one's working.
Yes, I think so.
Tell if it,
Monica, if you could pass out the evaluations already, that would be great. Do you want me to do the clicker? I don't know where to stand.
they can hear me through this for sure. All right. Center for Human Services for having me. I'm with Valley Oak Children's Services in Butte County. I run the Parent Cafe program, so strictly that is pretty much all that I do. Two of us, who's the administrator of the program. So I get to do all the day-to-day stuff, the outreach, the parent cafes, and the paperwork and things like that. It's a really fair deal, I think, but yeah, you might not agree all the time. So that will I always like to start with a little bit about who I am. It's like a few pictures of myself and my life. The top left, obviously, is me as a little kid with the afro. That's my mom, born to a teenage mother. She had me. Sure, we can. All right, so the top left picture is me as a child with my mother.
Hold on. Is that turned on? I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Is it turned on, the green? Is the green light on? It is. Okay. Up. Just kind of hold it like right up to your mouth.
Yes, yeah, we want you to start dancing.
Monica, can you hear this? Can you hear through this microphone better? Sorry. Glitch. Because I can hear this through my headphones, but I can't. I think you kind of just have to stand still and talk right into it. That's what you have to do. I'm so sorry about that.
So not this one? Oh. She didn't tell me that.
I know. Hold on one second, okay? I'm so sorry, but I am not hearing you through that thing. I'm not hearing him. I am hearing myself right now. I'm talking to myself. Check. So I'm not sure what the issue is, but I'm standing here talking to myself and I can hear through that. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening. Up. I can hear myself when I stand here.
Okay.
But Lori was over there. We could hear her fine.
Okay, we're going to stand by. We're going to take a quick mic break. Hold on. Bye.
We're still fighting with the microphone a little bit. I can hear myself, but then it goes out again.
Can you hear me?
Nope. I know that one's not really working. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. This one, I can hear this one. But if I stand still, I can hear it. I don't know about handing it over again. This one seems to be working. Number one, handheld number one. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Check, check, check. I think it's a yes. I am talking to myself in the mic right now, and I can see it, and I see the lines on the mixer. So yeah. Well, I don't know. Well, let's see. Try it.
Yes, yes, yes. It's working. It's working. It's working. Oh, I see a smile. Olivia's smiling, so Olivia must hear us.
Stay still.
Fingers crossed. All right, so we should pick this up. Let's do this. Oh, I didn't see what that said. All right, so get back to kind of a little bit about me. Might as well start all the way over. Start over. Top left picture is me and my mom, me, my mother, my grandmother, and me. Love my mom. We might not always get along, but she's always been there for me. So again, like I was saying, like this is all a little bit about who I am. You know, where I'm from. Born and raised in West Los Angeles. In my life, I can distinctly tell like when everything kind of took a turn. The bottom picture is with me and my dad. I've only seen him in person about 4 times in my life. The first time when I was 10, and that's kind of when that proverbial fork in the road happened, and I met him, and it was all bad. I went one way, and the rest of my life is history. The person that went to see him never returned. Some other kid came back, and it was just trouble, trouble, trouble. Vista Del Mar is a youth facility I was at for about 4 years, including juvenile hall and things like that. Got out of that. Obviously, there's some pictures up there with me and some friends, aka the homies. Me, the afro there, I was about 22, and then I ended up going to prison, which wasn't something that was a shock to me. I kind of expected to be there from the way my life was going. So when I got there, it wasn't like, oh, what has my life become? It was like, oh, here I am, you know, more friends, more opportunities, and things like that. I did about almost close to 3 years in prison between 2 different times, which, you know, it's not the most terrible thing. I shouldn't say that because I advocate for people not going, but when that's what you expect, you kind of make the most of it. A lot of this I could say is when we're talking about protective factors, it might be a disaster, but along the way, it's building up those resiliencies. It's, you know, there are social connections of people who are there for you. It might not always be the best, but when you continuously go through things, you start building up the capacities to kind of just go through them and let them happen and then just move forward. And that's one of the key things about parental resilience is if we're going through things, we want to learn from them, grow, and move forward so they don't keep happening. I went through a lot of hiccups in my life, but I'm proud to say today that those aren't a part of my life anymore. I hope the moving around is okay now, people out there. So apologize. So yeah, so this is one of the pictures with my dad right there, which is one of my favorite pictures. He is a long-term drug addict. He probably has about 4 or 5 years clean now, which is super good for him. It took him a long time to get there. And I think a lot of the guilt from him and his and mine experiences together kind of sent him on a road that he wasn't really prepared to go down for that long of a period of time. The bottom 2 right pictures are me and my kids. My oldest son, Jaden, my youngest son, Devin. Jaden's 19, Devin's 15. Jaden was born while I was incarcerated, and I had him shortly after I got out, and they both have different mothers as well. Another twist to the story is that shortly after I got out of prison, when I had Devin, me and his mom got in a fantastic argument. We split up, and he came with me. And so I've been a single parent for about 14 years now, trying to manage. The weird thing is I went from this kid in trouble to an adult in trouble. Normal life in there, no teen life, no adult life, no learning how to do things, learn how to parent, learn how to do taxes, learn how to do anything. It was all of a sudden now I'm out of prison. Now I have a kid to take care of. And it was a struggle. I must admit it was a struggle. So trying to take care of Devin for a while was a very learning experience, on the job training. You know, I mean, the diaper bag, I don't know how many times I messed that thing up. Not feeding him on time, not giving him a nap on time, him being out too late, things like that. But I guess that just goes along with learning how to be a parent. He's still alive, which is great. I'm really super proud about that. That's the picture right there where it has myself, Devin, and Jaden. Devin's in the Savage shirt. So that was about 3 weeks ago. So he is still alive. He's a good kid. He hates school, but I guess all 15-year-olds hate school when you're a freshman in high school. And so as luck would have it, after a few years of me and Devin by ourselves, Jaden's mom got in some trouble. And then all of a sudden I have Jaden to take care of as well. And that was a struggle because his mother would pretty much bash me, be like, your dad doesn't love you. If he loved you, he'd be here. Really kind of made me out to be the animal. So that was a bit of a struggle. We got through it. He left my house when he was 15 to go live with his mother because she kind of got her life back together. But he's doing well. He's doing a lot better. His mom's doing well. So I kind of feel like that's a success story there. I put the 2 jobs in there. The one with the t-shirt was I got that job 4 months out of prison, and I worked there 12 and a half years before I got this job. And so I'm really grateful that they gave me an opportunity, because a lot of places don't give folks just fresh out of prison an opportunity to work. So they did. I'm grateful for that. And then Valley Oak Children's Services is where I work now. And they also gave me an opportunity to do parent cafes and kind of another chance at a life, you know, past. T-shirts are great, but it wasn't meant for me. I truly feel like what I do now is kind of what I'm supposed to be doing. All right. So on everyone's table, there's the Parent Cafe outlines. The page is split in half. The one up here is just on, I don't know, do they have it there? Okay, awesome. So the one that's on the slide is just the outline. So the outline is everyone familiar with Parent Cafes? I know a few people are. Do we want to go through the outline? We do? All right. The outline is very, very important to Parent Cafes. If you skip something, then you're really kind of taking out what the Parent Cafe is all about. So we start the Parent Cafe where we do provide the dinner and the childcare. So it's always a catered meal, and we have childcare through interns and child development majors through Chico State. So the interns we do not pay, but we also pay some childcare workers to come help us out. We really want to make sure that childcare is locked in, because if kids aren't having a good time and their parents know they're not having a good time, the parents won't want to show up, and then we're kind of stuck with a bad reputation for Parent Cafe. So the welcome is very important to making everyone feel comfortable. Once they come in, you want to greet them, say hi, smile, laugh, you know, ask how their day was, ask how their family is, things like that. That's key to the development of relationships with the folks in the community. Chico, where I live, is a very small community. So I've been able to make a lot of good friends through Parent Cafe, and I think that really just helps the program grow overall. Next is the Parent Cafe agreements, which is on that page as well. The agreements are key to making sure that it is a safe place. We don't want folks to think that what they say is going to be taken outside the room. We don't want folks to judge. No shaming. We shouldn't tell people what we think they should do. Because a lot of times when we're doing that, if we're telling someone what we think they should do, we're telling from our perspective. So if I'm telling someone what I think they should do, it's coming from a person who's been incarcerated, who grew up in gangs, violence, drug addiction, prison, things like that, and everything is so black and white. So a lot of times it's black and white for me. It might not work for somebody else. Not saying it always works for me, because it doesn't. But you know, I'm not taking into consideration everyone else's experiences, their lives, their families. And that's one of the keys to the agreements, is we have to keep everything that we feel about a certain situation to ourselves, because we don't know what the other person is going through. And if we're trying to tell them what we think, then we're not respecting their lives, their families, and their situations. And one of the keys to Parent Cafe is having everyone on the same playing field. So when we have professionals come in to do Parent Cafe or help us out, whatever that title is left at the door. So everyone comes in as a parent, a grandparent, foster parent, whatever it might be, whatever that role in the life of a child is. So we're not there to analyze people. We're not there to tell people what we think they should do, as social workers or things like that. We're really there all as parents or caregivers or something like that. The theme and the protective factors go hand in hand. A lot of times the one up here says community. So then the theme of the cafe will be about community, and usually that can be like social connections or something like that. Or what's the other one? Concrete support in times of need, to really see what's going on in the community. So you want to have everything tied in from the one-on-one to the theme and to the protective factors that can be talked about in the conversations. Next is the one-on-one. So has everyone in here done a one-on-one before? Everyone's participated. A lot of people, I love it. A lot of people don't love it. It's very difficult when we talk for so long sometimes, but people are interrupted. We're having those conversations. But the one-on-one, when you're just tasked for talking for 2.5 minutes straight, it is like a roller coaster. Like the sound goes up and up and up, and all of a sudden just dips off about 45 seconds in, and people are looking up at the sky and they don't know what to say, and they're twiddling their thumbs, and it's really interesting to watch the one-on-one happen. As people go along and do it more and more, they get more used to it. So before you know it, people are talking for 3 and 4 minutes, and I always have to stop them, say, okay, we're done. But it's good to see that happen. It's good to get people who don't know each other having conversations, talking, getting to know each other a little bit better. Next is the Parent Cafe rounds, and usually we have 3 rounds that average 12 to 15 minutes each. There's a couple slides later that will come up that have the cafe cards on them, but a lot of times we'll have the round. It'll be 2 rounds of one topic, then a third of another. So it could be resilience twice and concrete support or something like that, just so we can kind of get that same theme going, and then toss something in at the end to kind of change up the conversations a little bit. We've noticed that at the beginning that when folks just talk about one subject for 45 minutes almost, they get tired a little bit. So we want to throw something else in there we can have new conversations. Every round, so we have 1 round, we switch, mix up the groups, have another round, switch and mix up the groups, just to keep the conversations fresh. The commitment card is very key. So the commitment card is something we do not read. I hope I'm still in the lines. We pass it out to everyone. The commitment cards are kind of one of those moments that stand out. Like you're like, oh, I need to spend more time with my kid. Oh, I need to stop doing this. Oh, I need to reach out to somebody. Oh, just whatever that aha moment is. And that's what you put on the commitment card. So what it is you write on there what you want to do or what you want to say or what you want to remember. We collect them and we send them back between the next cafe with a flyer for the next cafe. And so just really a reminder, so it's in your own words. So when we go to things like this, once we walk out the doors, a lot of times people, real life comes right back and we forget what we were doing. We might forget what we wanted to do. So the commitment card is really important to remembering that, and it's in your own writing. So like, this is what I said to myself. It's nothing I said to anybody. I don't read it, so it's really personal. The harvest and debrief is kind of the process of closing everything up. What did you get out of the cafe? How was that? What was the aha moments? What did you learn? It's really just a time to kind of have a discussion amongst the whole group about what the cafe process was for you, and how everything went. Is that a timer? Okay. I went past it, obviously. One of the best parts of the cafe is the one we're closing. That is where this is the one part that everyone has to talk. So harvest debrief, cafe conversations, things like that. Not everyone was required to talk, but the one we're closing is where is to sum up the whole evening. I do them at night, Friday night. So a lot of times I'll say night. That's just because 3 Friday nights a month I'm doing parent cafes. When we're closing, so you say your name and one word or something nice. So I would be like Justin special or Justin learning, something like that, just to really bring the whole cafe to a close, to come full circle and really just kind of summarize it in one word. if you give someone the opportunity to just go on and on, they will go on and on. They'll say a lot of good things or bad things even. I've never heard a lot of bad things, but we want that one word to just really compact, succinct. That's it for the Parent Cafe. All right. So here are the protective factors. These cards I made up, and we have them on our table at all the parent cafes. It's also on the page on the table. So we got parental resilience, to be both strong and flexible. We really want to handle life's challenges, be able to bounce back, grow and bounce back so they don't happen again. Positive social connections. Parents need friends. We need good friends around us. We need people that are going to support us, that are there for us. I always like to tell a story that, I have some friends. There was a time I didn't have the best friends. My friend got in some trouble. I was the one that ended up going to jail. He got off. And I'm like, that's not fair. I wasn't even doing anything. But if we are having bad people around us and people that get in trouble, that will negatively impact us and it'll impact our kids. And that's the main thing. The whole reason why Parent Cafe is about strengthening families and protective factors is reduce the risk of child abuse and neglect within families. So if something negative is happening to us, it's happening to our kids, and all of a sudden now we have created this this puddle or the wave of things happening, which will negatively impact our kids at school, things like that. It just goes on and on. So if we're able to really work the protective factors in our life and learn, then we're really stopping these negative things from happening. Concrete support in times of need. Everyone needs help sometimes. There's not a time in my life where I have not had to reach out to somebody. It might be hard to do, but it's very important to reach out for someone and say, hey, I can't do this. I don't know how. Especially when I was beginning my parenting journey, there's a lot I did not know. Once I was like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do this? Things started working, clicking into place. It took a minute to be like, I don't know this because I want to know everything. But once I admitted I don't, it became a lot easier. Knowledge of parenting and child development. This is another one that was key for me. My kid slept, he ate, he, had clothes, but it might not have been at the right time. I've been in the right place. I don't know how many times I had to leave something because the diaper bag wasn't full properly, like bottles and things like that. So knowledge of parent child development is taking what I naturally have and learning things along the way. It's asking those questions. It's saying, what am I supposed to do here? My kid's not doing this or he's doing that. Can you help me? And so it's kind of getting, just filling that toolbox. You can't have too many tools in parenting to raise kids. And it's really good to kind of expand your knowledge base and kind of look outside for other hints and tips. Social and emotional competence in children. We need to help our kids communicate, deal with conflict, make friends, and express emotions in a positive way. Our kids don't communicate like this. They don't understand things like us. A lot of times, me and my kid, it just seems like we're always missing the mark. And really giving them the language, the opportunity, the tools. Just, what are you feeling? How does it feel? Why are you feeling this way? How can I help you? What do we need to do? Things like that to really work with our children. It's not always going to work. This is, but giving them that base will help and go a long way. Oh, thank you. So again, here are the agreements. It's on that page as well. So Parent Cafe agreements is speak from your own experiences. Always use I statements. I feel, I like, I dislike, I want, I don't want, things like that. Listen attentively, do not interrupt. When we are interrupting, we are thinking about what we want to say and not listen to what the person is saying to us. And once you do that, you have messed up someone's train of thought because you are so worried about what you want to say. Even if it's good or bad, it's not a bad thing. We do that a lot. But sometimes just allowing someone to speak, their ideas go a little deeper, their thoughts go a little deeper, and we want to allow that to happen. No judgments, positive or negative. You don't want to say someone's the best at something or the worst at something. Because if I tell someone like Jennifer, hey, you're a great parent, and we're sitting at a table having a cafe conversation, and I don't tell everyone else at the table, they're gonna be like, I must be a terrible parent. I must not be doing something right. I'll say sorry, I got caught up reading what it said. I saw my name. Do not give. Okay, good. If there's questions online or here, thank you. I'm sure there'll be a time we can answer. I love questions, so please, we'll get to the question. Probably can't wait for that. So do not give advice. When we're giving advice, we're giving advice from our perspective, what I feel you should do in your life, and that's not fair to anybody. I don't like when someone tells you what they think I should do, because it is a lot of times they don't know what I've been through, and when we do that to others, we're not taking that into consideration. Confidentiality. It's usually the Vegas rule. So what happens at the cafe stays at the cafe. We don't want things going out. Seriously. We don't want things going out there. You don't want to say, hey, Justin said this, or hey, Justin said that. That just will mess everything up, but people won't want to come to the cafe. These agreements create a safe space where you can have a conversation and say I'm struggling, say I'm hurting, say I need help, say I don't know everything, and it'd be okay. No one's going to take that and use it against you at a later time. Turn your cell phones off, which is the last one. It's usually just silence. We're all important people, and so if you get a phone call, or if you need to talk to someone, we usually just ask folks to step outside, handle their business, and come right on back to the conversation and join in. Parent Cafe conversation cards. So these are the cards that are on the table. So every card that is on the table for the cafe conversations are going to be different. It will have the 5 protective factors as outlined up there, but the question will be different. Like this one is, what could you do to feel more grounded, centered, and secured? So when you're having the cafe conversations, if someone loves that question, that's what you get to talk about. You know, a lot of times we go from question to question, but usually there'll be 3 cards on the table, and you just get to kind of pick which one as a group you like the best and have a conversation about that. If you exhaust that question, then you just move on to the next one and have a conversation about that one. A lot of times it starts off slow and people don't want to talk, but then once the talking gets going, a lot of times at the 15-minute mark, people are still going, and it's really good. You know, a lot of times there's been a couple of instances where we've had the conversation and they get to a point where some heavy stuff is being talked about, and a lot of times we'll extend the cafe around because we don't want to cut someone off if they're, you know, really talking about something and they've created this bond at the table with the other folks. You want to allow that to happen. Next one. They're also in Spanish translation as well. We have a large Hmong population up in Chico and in Butte County, so we don't have them fully translated yet, but that's kind of what we have on the horizon. So we do have they are bilingual. The cards are in English and Spanish, excuse me. Next is something that we've introduced recently that we're starting to do is a Journey to Vitality. So this is a new set of cards, which has 6 different areas of vitality on there. And so we're going to start implementing like a 6-week series. What I do is I go to a domestic violence shelter, homeless shelter, and a transitional living facility. And we'll start doing a program where each week we will go through one of these. So the first week is physical. And what can we do to be more physical in our lives? How are we physical? Who can we rely on to help us out with exercise? Things like that, just to really get these folks kind of implementing new things in their lives. They'll get a little journal, and so we'll talk about it. We'll come up with some ideas. We'll have a cafe round, and then within a week following up, they'll get to journal what they've done. They'll get to do, you know, I did some push-ups, I did some walks, I did things like that. What they've done to kind of implement this one of these areas in their lives. And the next week will be a different one, and for 6 weeks. So really, where they start and where they end up to really see what the transformation is. And it's up to each individual. So it might be this huge transformation, it might be this little one, but we really want to get people on this path, you know, in some of these areas that some of the folks that we work with, to kind of have a goal they're working towards each week. All right. This one is Dad's Cafe cards. Oh my God. Oh, so sad. I'm just kidding. So this one is for dads. So they have a cafe card deck out there just for dads, which is all the protective factors are the same, but the questions are going to be just a little bit different, more geared towards fathers. You know, like this one here, how do you deal with stress differently since you became a dad? You know, all the questions are geared towards dad, to kind of how we handle things, how we do parenting, relationships and things like that. A lot of times what I'll do is sometimes it's a struggle to get just dads to come out. But when we do have, it's a struggle to get dads just come out by themselves. So, you know, 5, 10, 15 dads, that's kind of hard to get sometimes. So we have our regular cafes. I'll put a dad's cafe question out there for when the dads are in the room, so they can have that round. A lot of times what happens is there'll be like 3 moms and a dad at the table, and they'll be like, oh, we want to hear what the dad has to say about this, or what do you feel about that? Which is great. And so it always offers a different perspective of parenting and different perspective of the protective factors. And it's been a hit. So it's really worked out well. Moms sometimes answer these questions as well because they are a little bit different, but they're still involved in protective factors. Just because it says dad doesn't mean that moms can't answer the questions. All right. So this is a parent cafe in Oroville, California. That's my partner, Shauna, walking with the red shirt. So that's kind of what it looks like. That's at the Oroville YMCA. We've done it there for about 4 years. So I've been doing this job for 5.5 years, I think. And so when I was hired, there was no parent cafe. They did a community needs assessment, what was missing, what can we do? And they came up with the parent cafe idea, brought Be Strong families out. We were trained, and then we were just told, make this happen in the community. So there was nothing before. So we had to do everything from advertisement, location, food, raffles, working with the schools, working with agencies. So it was kind of like, it was something on paper that we had to go out and implement. It's been very successful. It's been fun. We've had our roller coaster rides. It's been a great learning experience, but it's been a lot of fun. And so we've been lucky to have the YMCA to help us out for about 4 years that we've been doing it. This one here is at Chico Junior High School. That's another spot that we've partnered with, that we've been doing it there just about 5 years. The principal was gung-ho. He's like, yeah, please do it here. We love it. This is what we want. And so they opened up the doors for us on a Friday night, let us use the facilities. During the summer, when we did them in summer, they came and opened it up for us. They've just been a great partner to advertise, to work with. It's also good to have that connection. So when we're going out and talking to folks, who do you work with? Oh, Chico Junior High. Oh, the YMCA. Oh, we partner with other agencies in the community. It's really good to have that at one central location and one specific day of the month. So the first Friday of the month is always Chico at Chico Junior. You get on the habit so people know when it's going to be, so they know what to expect. All right. Another key to Parent Cafe is outreach. This is one of my favorite things to do is outreach. This is at a children's fair. That's the table that I set up. So we give away a lot of books. That's what we do at outreach events. We have a lot of information, a lot of books, a lot of signups for our different activities. So I'm probably pointing at Parent Cafe thing, but there's also a dad's sign up sheet up there. It's really just be in the community, have that community presence, let people see us, that we're real people, that we're out there, that we're doing things for the community. And really that recognition is fantastic, So since I am the lucky person that gets to do all the outreach, I get to know a lot of people, and a lot of people get to know me as well. Presentations are key to Parent Cafe as well. This was at an EHS presentation in Humboldt about a year ago. Having the opportunity to reach out to agencies and groups that you might not normally reach out to or know about Parent Cafe is great. We've done Parent Cafes at EHS meetings. They have their meetings once a month, and we kind of go in there and do Parent Cafe. We also have EHS at our office, so they'll do their meetings at our Parent Cafe, so their families get to come as well. It's just a really great way to have that partnership, to get folks that might not normally be a part of Parent Cafe understanding what it is and at the table with us as well, and to get that good support. All right. Every year, there's a lot of community events. This is one of the bigger ones. It's the 2030 Club Back to School event. So every year they take a lot of children and give them about $100 shopping spree at Kohl's. And so this is something we do as well. This year with my little buddy right here. Great kids. The parents get to stay outside. We take the kid, go inside Kohl's, get to do shopping, get to, sometimes you got to be the bad guy, say, no, I can't get you that toy. But a lot of times it's just a lot of fun. Walking around with them, getting to know them, seeing what they're into, seeing what they like to do, and the shopping is always fun. I've never minded shopping at all, except I don't get to keep the stuff. That's a bummer. Every year we do a family event as well, so it's kind of different from Parent Cafe. So it's not, what we do is we take all the families that want to show up, and the top picture was bowling, so we get to go bowling. We use some money from Each Mind Matters, that's why we're holding the banner up there. And the bottom one is roller skating, which the roller skating was this year. So it's just kind of a way to thank the families and bring them out, have fun as a family unit, skating, doing fun stuff, getting to know them, watching them laugh and play. a lot of families don't always have the opportunity to get out and do a lot of fun stuff. So this is just a way that we get to kind of do it with them. And all expenses are paid. And what we really do is try to remove any barriers for families not being able to come to Parent Cafe or events. So there are times that families don't have transportation, and we will provide transportation like a cab or things like that so they can get to the Parent Cafe and back. We really want to make sure that families are able to come to Parent Cafe. We have some supporting programs that I also run. The top two are the dads groups that I do. The one was, for whatever reason, I was up like 2 a.m. one night. I saw this community, they had all these like broken electronics and games as they were coming together as a community and fixing. So I decided to do something like that, like have dads and kids come out and bring toys or whatever and get together and fix them. The top right one was just a group that we had. That's not the group of the picture of the dads. It's just really to get people together, have a conversation. So what we'll do is every month or a few months, we'll try to do 3 activities and one that's just like a Parent Cafe style where we're sitting down, having a conversation. Conversations naturally happen when we're fixing stuff or doing things, but the sit down one is really now let's talk about stuff. It's okay to say, I'm struggling as a dad, or I don't know who to talk to, or I need more support. It's really difficult a lot of times to get men to do that. And so this is really my attempts to provide that space where if I'm able to talk, maybe it might help encourage someone else to be able to talk about what's going on in their lives as well. Inside Out Dad is another program I do. It's at the jail. It's a 12-week program. So it's helping men who are incarcerated be better fathers even though they're locked up. It's a sucky situation, excuse my language, to be locked up and have kids out there, but try to go in there and just say, hey, I understand what it's like. How can we, work through this? We need to talk about like what we went through with our dads. We need to talk about the image that of dads being portrayed on TV. We need to talk about working with the mother. We need to talk about, parenting and discipline and competition. And so that's what it is. It's 12 weeks of that. We go in a room, we close the door. It's me and 10 dads or so, and we're just really working through this book and really getting them to a place where they can have those conversations. And you'd be surprised, once that door closes and it's just us in there. I mean, people are talking. It's amazing when I ask the dad, when's the last time you guys cried? And there's less hesitation and more, oh man, I cried like a month ago because of this, or I haven't cried, since this. And they start talking about when how they have not worked through things, or a song made them cry, or things like that. And so it's really powerful. And this is one of the, aside from Parent Cafe, is something else I really enjoy because I was incarcerated, because as a kid that was born while I was incarcerated. So it's really personal for me. But it's also, it's enjoyable. Like I just love the work that I'm able to do. And then the bottom one is the Super Dad Parent Cafe. That's really just, trying to get those dads together, working through protective factors, I guess, but really getting them having the conversations and really understanding that, the importance that they have in the lives of their children. The next is just some pictures. So left 3 are the Inside Out Dad. They're on alternative custody, those 3 pictures. So they're in and out of jail constantly. They do a lot of community service work. So on the sheriff's work crew and things like that. The middle top picture is a couple of dads that came out for one of the events. Then the bike right at the bottom, that's my friend Tom. He's there because he's a single dad as well. We met at a coffee shop of all places. He heard me talking about my job and started asking me some questions. He refuses to come to anything other than, I was like, well, he was like, let's go camp. I was like, cool, let's do that, And so I have a lot of people that are in my life like that don't want to come to Parent Cafe, that don't want to be in an environment like this talking about stuff. But if it's a bike ride, if it's camping, if it's something like that, they're willing to go. So that is kind of a lot of the stuff I do as well, is that one-on-one interaction. And I get to build friends as well. So I haven't been through the school portion of all this. Like I haven't graduated college. So I haven't been told that you can't make friends with clients, you can't do all this stuff, So I don't know any better. So I have a lot. I have a lot of friends, and a lot of people have my cell phone number, and we talk constantly. And that's just what works best for me, because those barriers aren't there. And so when I was growing up in youth facility, in juvenile hall, or in prison, the people that I connected with the best, that were guides for me, were people that were just like, I'm going to look out for you. We're going to be cool. and those barriers were kind of disappeared a little bit. And so I think I've kind of just extended that to the men and the families I know. All right, that is it for me. Thank you everybody for listening to me. Hi world, thank you. You need me to?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes. Click. So, yes. Okay, yes. So once again, my name is Jennifer Rangel. I'm here from the Center for Human Services, and I'm going to talk about Parent Cafe and really the movement that we have here in Stanislaus County. So like Justin said, parent cafes really are just to provide an intentional space for parents to come together in a non-judgmental way. So it's not a training, it's not a workshop. And we started our parent cafe journey is about 2015 when I connected with Justin.
Do you want to stop for questions? There's a few questions for Justin. Is this a good time to do that, or should we wait till you're finished?
We can do that now. That's fine.
However you want to do it.
We can do that now, and then there's.
Bring us the microphone and we'll. Oh, we're gonna unmute Monica. She can ask for herself.
Do you need the microphone? No. They're gonna ask from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ask her to say something.
Monica, can you hear me? Earth to Monica. Oh.
Okay, now we're unmuted. Okay, so thank you, Justin. One question is, what does the G on your belt stand for?
It's probably the brand.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now we have some real questions. We really thought your presentation was great. Go ahead, Michelle. You had a question.
Hi, Justin. My name is Michelle. I'm here in Merced County representing Merced College. I have a question about the Inside Out Dads program. Are you actually implementing parent cafes for those weeks with the fathers, or is that a different program? And is that program through Be Strong Families?
No, that's a different program. So Inside Out Dads through National Fatherhood Initiative. So we went out to DC, I think it was 3 years ago, and got trained in Inside Out Dad, 24/7 Dad, and Love Notes, and came back to implement that since it was something personal for me. What I do hope is that once the 12 weeks and once the dads are off the ankle monitors or released, that they do come to parent cafes. I've had a few dads that have come to the events or come to my office, and we kind of help them work through some other stuff. But the goal is to have them come to parent cafes once they are released and they're able to.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have a question or comment?
Can we get your slide back on your information? The last slide you had up there, is that possible?
Yes.
Yes.
With your contact information?
Yeah, I think they were talking about sending the PowerPoint out as well. Oh, we're at the
Okay,
beginning.
perfect. That'll be perfect. Thank you.
Will they send it to everybody who registered through Strategies? Is that how they'll get it?
Yes, I got a thumbs up for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions for him right now? All right.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Shane Marlowe.
Are there any questions in the room?
Valleyofchildren.org. Just Google him.
I'm loud.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So is this on?
Yeah, you won't hear it here.
Oh,
They hear you.
oh Lord. Okay. So my question is, I work in Stockton for CAPC, so I actually am a coffee, a few snacks like cuties and maybe pretzels or things that are like shelf items. So could you provide us a little more insight on that?
Yeah, I sure will. Did everyone over there hear the question too? And Merced? So what we do, so we're good. Okay, so we're funded through First 5 Butte County. So our budget it's very detailed. So we'll have a food budget, a transportation budget, insurance budget if we need that. So what we do is we hopefully a lot of times we'll go to a restaurant in the community and say, hey, this is who we are, this is what we do, we're a nonprofit. Is there a way we can pay for this much and you donate this much or something like that? So it's a fully catered meal. You can be like an Italian dinner, Chinese food, Mexican food, Thai food. It could be things like that because a lot of times families they go places and it'll be maybe just pizza or just a sandwich or just something like that, and then they have to leave because they're still hungry. So what we try to do is have a full meal, so they'll come and get the whole thing, and then they eat together. So it's a 2-hour window from 6 to 8. Really, the 6 to 6:30 part is just food. So everyone shows up, arrives, sign in. There's like the table right there, we have food all across it, and they just go get their food and sit together with everybody else and just kind of eat and talk. Kids start playing, and then which makes the transition a little difficult. But yeah, it's a full meal, the whole thing. Yeah.
I think that's maybe why. So I'm in 5 different school sites over the summer. We usually facilitate classes at like a community center or a homeless shelter, which I've done the Stockton homeless shelter. But I am very interested in figuring out how we could do more like a meal based. Because some people, like you said, they don't get that, option, or they don't get the family style. So I need to find that out. But so I'm wondering, okay, so I guess my question is, because I believe we're funded under the same, also First 5 funded, HSA and sometimes BHS, they divide it. Those are the grants. So do you know maybe who, when you guys are doing your planning for finances and you reach out to people that donate, is that something you keep with that person and they continue to do it like weekly, or you just build, like, do you understand if I'm asking the right question?
Yeah. So what we try to do is if tonight's a parent cafe, then a week ago we would go to the restaurant. A lot of times we have established those relationships with ones that we continue to use over and over again, which also is beneficial because there's been times where they've wanted to donate money and have given us money straight out for our program. So a lot of times we try to go there and say, hey, we're having another one this week. Some it's no tax, other it's like a 50-50, but we do want to start developing those relationships with the restaurants in our area. So, because then we can say, hey, this restaurant's contributing and giving back to the community. They're helping families within the community. Yes. Come this way. All right.
We have a question from Gwen in San Luis Obispo. Hi, San Luis Obispo. How is the best way to get families to the parent cafes? Is it best with word of mouth?
That is one of the best ways, yes. If you have a good program where families want to be there and they talk highly of it, they will extend that to other folks. They'll be, oh, you should really try Parent Cafe. What we do is we have flyers. So we have, originally we were doing individual flyers for all the schools, but now they have like the online peach jar, it's called, I think, where I live. And so we'll submit that. So that goes out to all the families. We'll go out through all the other social service agencies, daycare centers, anywhere, outreach events, anywhere we can, and just give out stuff. This is Parent Cafe. We want you to be there. This is what's happening in all communities. So we have, that's in our budget as well. So it's really, once people like to be there, they want to be there, they will tell their friends. Even if sometimes if it's just for the dinner, that's cool too. But they're gonna stay. Like, oh, this is cool. I should have done this earlier. And I think what happens is a lot of folks, they misunderstand what Parent Cafe is all about. They think it's a parenting class because when you go to somewhere involving parents, a lot of folks think that as soon as you go in there, they're going to tell you what you're doing wrong. This is how you're going to do better, and you're going to become the best parent. If you don't do our way, you're not. And so Parent Cafe is like, I'm not qualified to tell you how to be a parent. I struggle too. Like, I've got a 15-year-old right now who wants to fight me on homework every day of the week. I mean, parenting is a struggle. So I go there and I have conversations as well, but it's just really meeting new people, getting outside your comfort zone, talking, growing, learning. And that's kind of the best process. And giving out stuff, the outreach events I showed, the flyers, the other social service agencies, having good partners, is really, that's how you get the word out. All right, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem. All right. So in Stanislaus County, we started our Parent Cafe journey about 2015. We brought Justin out here to train individuals from different agencies, and that's really where we started. Like Justin said, it's really about creating an intentional space for parents to come together. So we use any rooms that are available to us at schools, and we transform them to look differently. So this is a picture at one of our high schools, and I remember staff going in there saying, the chairs don't detach from the tables. How are we going to create a cafe? So we kind of just scooted them together. We put a tablecloth to create a different feeling. We want parents to come in and feel welcomed. We don't want them to feel like they're coming to a workshop or to a training. Like Justin said, parents don't want to come to be told how to be a better parent. So this was just a picture of that. This next picture, it's good. This next picture is a picture at our Garrison Elementary School here locally in Stanislaus County. What we did as an agency is we partnered with our local elementary school to facilitate parent cafes and evening parent cafes at their site monthly. This is our third school year at the school facilitating these parent cafes. And you'll see that most of our parent cafes are moms that are coming, but we do have a few dads that come monthly. And this is our Spanish speaking group. And when we first started there, we had about 10 families, 10 parents come, and it has grown to 24. It just depends on the evening and what's happening in their life. The Parent Cafe really welcomes everyone. We want to really remove barriers from families to attending events. A lot of times we hear parents talk about, oh, I can't go to this event because, or a parent teacher conference or anything at school because I have younger kids, or transportation. So we really try to remove those barriers. At Garrison, we've offered transportation, especially when the time changes, and so they're a walking community, so a lot of them don't want to come to Parent Cafe and then have to walk home in the evening. We also invite them to bring all of their children, not just the children that attend that elementary school, but everyone in their family. We always have activities for the children. We have volunteers that come and hang out with the kids. We might show movies. We might have different activities during different times of the month. During Christmas, we do a lot of crafts that they can make for their families. But a lot of times the kids are just happy just to be with their friends, with their other friends from school. And it's funny, they'll see us coming and they're like, oh, it's Parent Cafe night. And while their parents are picking them up from the after school program, they'll say, hey, are we going to come back? And so a lot of times we see families that come back because their kids want to come. And so their kids are really the ones bringing them. And like Justin said, sometimes they just come for dinner. And that's completely fine because we're meeting that need, that concrete need of them having food. Eventually, they attend Parent Cafe. Sometimes they come into the room, they check it out, and then they realize, well, there's a lot of questions that I'm really not ready to answer, and they leave, and that's totally fine. We do offer a lot of incentives for those parents who stay and participate. We have made partnerships with our local schools and our donors so that we can give away raffle items. And the raffle items are really small household items, pillows, blankets, and families are really appreciative of anything that we're able to give away. So where our Parent Cafe is happening in Stanislaus County, they're happening at family resource centers. They are happening at elementary schools, at high schools, at churches. This is probably the second year that we've had 2 churches in our county come to me for training so that they can host parent cafes. This year we have a church that's partnered with their local junior high to host parent cafes at their site. They're actually right next door to the school, and so they're very excited to be interacting with the school differently and with families differently. A lot of times parents and also those who go to church are not sure how can we volunteer? How can we be a part? Parent Cafe is a great opportunity for volunteers at any level, any age to participate. You can come, and if your interest is, you really want to hang out with the little kids, perfect. We have a perfect place for you to come and volunteer and hang out with the kids while their parents are in Parent Cafe. Sometimes people just want to help with food. They want to help prepare. That's how they want to give back. Parent Cafe is a great opportunity for that. Or they just want to help serve. They can't come and stay for the whole Parent Cafe, but they can help serve. So that's one way that we have included volunteers. Parent Cafe are also happening at Head Start sites in our county, as well as crisis and shelter sites. Our Children's Crisis Center in the county hosts parent cafes for their parents that they're working with. They also happen at workforce development sites. So specific populations you're able to have parent cafes with. It's really just following the framework that Justin talked about. And so you can have parent cafes for any audience. Part of what I do in our county is really help connect those who want to bring parent cafes to their sites. So they might say, hey, we want parent cafe, can you come facilitate? We know that we don't have the capacity to be facilitating every parent cafe. So part of what I do is help train volunteers or parent leaders or some identified person at their site so that they can facilitate the parent cafe at their site themselves. I will help them really identify their local partners. Where are the partners that they already have? What else how can we connect with them and really engage them in the parent cafe? No, it's good. At every parent cafe, there's an evaluation. So all of our parents have been completing evaluations in our county for the last 3 years. And I really just wanted to share what we're hearing from our parents and what we're learning. So Parent Cafe is about increasing social connections. 90% report that they've met someone they plan to stay in touch with. If you go back real quick. In this picture, this is at our Garrison site. And this was the first school year that we had Parent Cafe there. And so these ladies came together, they were coming to Parent Cafe. None of them had met each other ever, and their children all went to the same school. One of the moms was pregnant. So as they started Parent Cafe, they started to learn about her and her family. And what we found out is when she had her baby, they all decided on their own to go to her house every night when she came out and brought her family dinner. And that's what Parent Cafe has helped to create. That's not something we said, hey, you should do that because she's pregnant, she just had her baby. That's them coming on their own because of the connections that they made with her and her family during the space that we created for them to have Parent Cafe and come together. Parental resilience, 98% plan to take better care of themselves, and 95% plan to try or learn a new way to handle stress. For me, this is huge. I have 3 children, so I know what stress is like being a parent. They are 13, 6, and 3, so they're all at all different levels. And so hearing parents that have learned different ways to handle stress is amazing. And then thinking back that this is them learning from each other, from hearing something that's worked for another parent or thinking about what they're doing and wanting to do something differently. This is not about me or someone else or Justin standing in front of the room saying, this is what you need to do to change stress and to do things differently. This is about offering parents a time to self-reflect and learn from each other. A knowledge of parenting and child development, 97% learn something that will help them as a parent, and 96% plan to change how they listen to their children. Again, this is huge. These are things that they're learning because they've participated in a Parent Cafe. It could just be one time. We had a father that came to a Parent Cafe in series at one of our family resource centers, and he participated in. We didn't really know him. He didn't come to any of our other groups. He just heard about Parent Cafe and came to Parent Cafe. He came back a week after and asked to speak to the manager. So they come and they get me, like, back then I was the manager at the Family Resource Center at the time. Like, Jennifer, this, he wants to talk to you about Parent Cafe. And so I'm like, okay. So I go out and he's like, hey, you know that thing you did? I'm like, yeah, Parent Cafe. He's, please come back. He's like, yeah, I just want to tell you guys, you need to keep doing it. And I was like, okay, well, thanks. Please come back and tell people, tell your friends. He goes, no, I'm talking about the one-on-one activity. And you'll all get a chance to experience a one-on-one activity in a bit. But I said, oh, okay. And I'm still like, okay, one-on-one activity. He met with someone, he talked to them. I'm still quite not understanding. And so he says that he has a 16-year-old daughter who is in high school. And she came home one day and told him, Dad, I really need to tell you something. And when she said that, he clicked to his experience of the one-on-one activity in the Parent Cafe. So when you participate in that one-on-one activity, you're only to listen. You're not to give judgment. You're not to talk back. You're just listening to the other person. So he decided that he was going to do that. He was going to let her just speak, and he wasn't going to interrupt her. So he sat there and he let her talk, and she talked about school or something had happened with her schedule. And then when she finished, he still just looked at her and she said, Dad, what's wrong? And he says, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean what's wrong? He goes, well, normally when I talk to you, you're telling me, oh, you need to go do this, or this is what I would do, or, you should be doing this. And so he knew that he was not really listening to his child. He was already giving his opinion, already thinking about the steps she should take. And just because of participating in Parent Cafe one time, it clicked for him to, let me just try this approach. And so he thanked us and talked about how now their relationship has taken a different turn, because now he knows that he needs to listen more, and he's going to always go back to that. And she knows that something has happened, something has changed for her dad. Concrete support in times of need. 97% are more willing to ask for help. At every Parent Cafe, we always have additional resources on a table. So if you're going to focus on social connections or concrete support, we might have flyers that maybe advertise free family events that are happening in the community. Or we might have flyers that have all the local food banks or clothing closets that they could go to, just so there's additional resources for them to connect with. 86% learned about a good resource for them or their family, and they're learning by the resources that we're connecting them with, and also by hearing from other parents. Hearing from other parents at the table say, hey, when this happened, this is where I went. Or I really know a person, that's helped me at the Family Resource Center. Or even at one of our sites, we had a dad who had lost his job. And so he came in and he was talking about that at the table. And a couple other dads said, hey, well, I work here. Maybe you should go there and see if they'll give you a job. Because when I just walked in a couple years ago and got a job. And so they're really, it's creating that space and creating those interactions for them. Social and emotional competence of children. 98% plan to make sure they understand their child's feelings. Again, remember, this is them on their own, not with someone else saying this is what you need to do. 86% plan to change something about their parenting. So what are our parents saying? I'm always amazed. I collect all the evaluations for our county, so they all get sent to me, and they get entered into a database so that we can look at county-wide information, and also we can look at each site and schools and wherever there are different locations that they're happening at. And parents continuously write on their evaluation. They don't have to write, but they are always writing comments. And I know from just in my own experience, I'm not one to always write a lot of comments on an evaluation, especially after you've had a hour training or something like that. So I'm always very admire those parents that they really want to make sure that someone is hearing what they're learning and what they're experiencing. So a lot of parents these are just common themes that we've picked out. We have dozens of comments from parents. I felt like I got a lot off my chest. I feel better. It was nice to talk freely with other dads. I realized really quick I am not a good listener. Made me think about my kids and my partner. We aren't the only family that struggles. There are others like us. So this helps families realize they get to sit at those tables and meet other parents who are going through the same challenges. I learned something that helps me be a stronger person so I can be a better parent to my kids. And really, that is why that's why I'm so passionate about Parent Cafe, and I'm willing to train people and really help them get these started, because this is a easy way to intentionally help parents create social connections with other parents. It's not a curriculum, it's not a program, it's really just following the framework and creating that space. What are our partners saying that we have worked with us in Parent Cafe? I love seeing how happy and refreshed the parents look when they leave Parent Cafe. It has really improved the feeling of community and inclusion at our school. I love being able to talk to different families at dinner. We are all in this together. Hosting parent cafes is easier than I first thought. A lot of times when people come to my trainings, they always say, Jennifer, we don't have time to have another program at our FRC or at our school site. I don't have staff to have, to hire to bring to our school to host parent cafes. So it's really helping them understand that Parent Cafe is a framework, and it's just following the framework and creating the space. Once the facilitator starts it, they welcome the parents, they introduce the protective factors, then the parents do all the work. That's the beauty of Parent Cafe. You're not sitting at each table and asking them questions. They are really working together through those questions. This is our website for our county. This is where someone can go if they're interested in learning more about Parent Cafe, what is the framework, and they can also, what we're currently working on is getting all of the sites that are hosting Parent Cafes listed on here so that people in our county can come and look and see where is the Parent Cafe happening in my neighborhood or at a local church or a family resource center nearby. This is a quote that really, I always like to end with this. It was a single mom who was attending a Parent Cafe. She has 2 twin boys. And I was just asking her, hey, how'd it go? And she said, Parent Cafe gives me hope that things are going to be all right. It's really what it's all about. It's really giving parents hope so that they leave refreshed and they feel like they can, be resilient with whatever challenge is going to face them, because life happens. Things happen. Things with children happen every day. You never know what's going to happen. So really giving parents an opportunity to come together and meet other parents and leave refreshed and feel like they have it. They can really face those challenges and move forward is really what Parent Cafe is about. Before we go on to our one-on-one activity, are there any questions from the room? Or Monica? Yes. Okay, so we can go on to our one-on-one activity. Oh. Is it weekly? Yes. Hold on, Monica. Okay, Monica.
At Merced College. We just started in January. We had one person come from Head Start to train with us. I have a center involved, but time, right? It is. I'm just sitting here about all of the wonderful things that county all together. And I mean, I've just been writing on it, so because I would
Did you
like
have a question, Monica?
my parents to hold
We
a
do,
cafe
we
for
do.
us, so you can see what it is.
We were curious, do you have any classes specifically for foster parents in either of your counties? Any parent cafes specifically for foster parents?
Do.
We are looking to team up very shortly. Could we just redid our scope of work? So we're looking to reach out to just foster parents and having them get together to start the parent cafes. So we will be starting those probably hopefully within the next month or so. But we don't have any yet, but we do have foster parents that come to our normal cafes. We have a couple families that have been there with us for about 5 years since we began. But we are looking to outreach just to foster parents solely.
And in our county in Stanislaus, we have trained a couple agencies who work directly, specifically with foster families. And I know that they are implementing parent cafes at their site with those parents.
And what's the length of time for a regular parent cafe, and does it work? Well, what's regular length of time? 2 hours?
So for our parent cafe, the ones we hold in the evening, they're 2 hours. We usually do them 6 to 8. So 6 to 6:30 is usually dinner. And then we transition into childcare. And then the actual parent cafe is about an hour long. I do work with some school sites that host them in the morning. And so they might not do a whole 2 hours. They might do an hour and a half, or just because they're providing not a full meal, but they might provide like muffins and pastries and things like that to start them off. So really the actual parent cafe portion is about an hour. It just depends on if you're going to serve a full meal or what kind of food you're going to have.
Okay, any other questions for Jennifer right now?
What about parents who are with kids with disabilities?
Okay, so another question, do you have any examples of parent cafes specifically for children with disabilities? And I was also thinking specifically for parents who currently have their children removed.
So with children with disabilities, our elementary school where we're hosting our monthly parent cafes has a whole separate school for children with autism. And so all of the parents who come are coming and participating in the same cafe with other parents. We have talked actually just recently about having something specifically for those parents who have children with autism or other disabilities. So that's not something we have a separate one for right now. Justin, do you have?
Did you ask us something back?
No. Okay. Do you have any other questions?
Oh, the second question was, do you have any examples of hosting parent cafes for parents whose children are currently in the child welfare system, so their kids are not in their care?
We currently do not have some. Are you asking if there's a separate cafes just for families with their children removed, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We do not have anything separate right now. The first 5 years, everything was inclusive of all families coming together. We redid our scope of work, so now we're really trying to outreach. I said it was like a big brushstroke. We're just trying to swoop up everybody in one stroke, and now we're doing really the fine points of things, which is reaching out to the homeless shelter, domestic violence shelter, transitional living, and one of them is there is some information at Be Strong Families about getting families, about children who are removed and getting those families back, which we're going to start trying to implement at these other places, but not specifically just for those families. So if we have the opportunity that it's at the domestic violence shelter or homeless shelter, and we know families have their kids removed or going through that process, then we can start implementing some of these steps to getting them back.
And in our county, we've had families at our family resource centers who have come and participated in parent cafes that don't have their children in their home right now. So it's not something that we ask, but I know just from experience that that's something that they have shared and that they're going through at the time. So it's not a separate cafe. As long as you follow the framework, it's really open to every parent. And then there was a question here.
So I think my question's sort of along the lines with that. So I think there's two ways to slice and dice. One is demographically, do you have a group of people who are like each other in their experience? So child welfare, children with disabilities. But I think my question is, would you change the questions that you have people explore based on that? So if the answer to that is no, that we ask the same questions all the time, then really it's about your outreach and not about your experience or your content. So, how do you, what's happening with those two dynamics, I guess?
So in our county, regardless of the population, we are still asking the same questions to our parents about around the protective factors.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I think I look at it both ways, like the specific group, say of since I go to domestic violence shelter or dad or something like that. So when I first started with domestic violence shelter, I was concerned about some of the questions that touched on yelling and screaming and things like that. But they were like, let's not worry about that. Just ask the normal questions. So when I go to domestic violence shelter, it looks a little bit different. But when I'm at the main cafes, it's just all the questions, because part of it is getting all these groups together and getting to hear different viewpoints and different life experiences, and that's how those like aha moments happen. Because if I'm just with my people that I'm normally with, I'm gonna continuously hear the same stuff, like that person's bad or this is always happening and the negative. But when you hear new ideas from new folks that you don't normally hang out with, that's when you're like, oh, maybe I can do this or maybe I can do that, and that's where the strength comes from, of being able to do something on your own, stopping something on your own. So the main goal is, like, foster parents are a little different because they sometimes want to hear each other's ideas and things like that. That's what we've heard. But overwhelmingly, we really try to get everybody together to kind of have that shared experience and see that just because this person is not homeless or just because they have a better job or something like that, that they still struggle with parenting, they still struggle with children's behavior. They might be in an abusive relationship or something like that. And it's really seeing that regardless of demographics, of education, of money, that they are experiencing the same things, and that those bridges are made and the walls are kind of brought down.
Anything else?
I have a question. Oh, can you still hear us? We have one more question.
Yes.
So how did you, because my understanding of parent cafes is there are some models that include like a facilitated lesson on one of the protective factors, and in your model, it seems like it's primarily led by the participant and kind of determine the process. So what are the pros and cons? Like, how did you come to leaving out kind of giving additional information?
So we really follow the framework and of the parent cafe. So we'll introduce the protective factors. We don't expect the parents to leave a parent cafe understanding every piece of the protective factor. But the hope is that every time they come, that they hear the same language, and they'll start to understand the protective factors, as well as from the conversations that they're having at their table. So in our parent cafes, we'll go over all 5 protective factors and maybe highlight 1 or 2 specifically for that night that we're going to focus on and give a little bit more information about that. But we don't have like a lesson or anything like that besides that piece.
So to kind of echo what Jennifer just said, in our county, there's how we were trained to do it and how we've trained other folks is that the parent cafes is this event for families where it's not a class, or not be told they're a bad parent, but there is a strengthening families class, like a 12-week or something like that, where it's more like you go there, you learn something, you have some homework to do, your whole family's involved. So it's a little bit differently, but the parent cafe by itself is just its own little entity, its own little event where the families do kind of take control. They guide where the conversations are going. And as kind of Jennifer says, well, once the families are kind of having the conversations, they might not fully get what parental resilience is or what these are, but they're seeing how they start to show up in their parenting every day, or their life, bless you, or their life. or their
Thank
life
you.
experiences, so they start to get an understanding of, oh, they are resilient, or they are, kind of understanding where their kids are. And as they go forward with the parent cafes, they start really having a good grasp of what the 5 protective factors are.
So we're going to have some more time in the afternoon if you have any additional questions. Right now, we really want to move on into the one-on-one activity so you can experience what our parents experience when they first come to a parent cafe. So I think we'll just have them pair up. If you can just pair up with someone you're sitting next to, or someone you don't know. And then we'll give you instructions. So someone you don't know, and Merced, if you can pair up with someone that you don't know or you don't work with every day, that would be great. And for our folks online, we'll have the questions for you as well. Do you want to give the directions and then I'll give the questions?
Sure. All right. Does everyone has their match? Usually I say match because we have match cards for everybody. So does everyone have a pair? We're all good here online, or in Merced, you guys are good too? Awesome. All right. So what you're gonna do is when we say go, what you're gonna do is figure out who's gonna go first. And this is it takes about 5 minutes. So for the first 2.5 minutes, one person just talks and the other person listens. If you like what they say, smile, laugh, whatever. If you don't, frown, do whatever. But you don't want to talk. So it could be a little awkward, but you want to give the person the opportunity just to say what they need to say. And for 2.5 minutes doesn't seem like that long, but when you are tasked with just talking for 2.5 minutes and someone's just staring at you and not saying anything back, like deer in the headlights. So when we say start, it's going to be pick out who's gonna go for it, and then you want to do the questions.
So with the one-on-one activity, the first 2 questions are always the same. So the number 1 question is, who are you? And the second question is, who is in your family? So those 2 always are the same. So when we say start, you can answer those 2 questions, and also the third question, how do your neighbors support you and how do you support your neighbors? And this question is just pulled directly from a Parent Cafe card. So ready, go.
Feel good?
Mhm.
I generally think like there's like copies of the flyers that we use, consent to participate, guide checklist,
Maybe just your flyers so people can see
evaluation.
what they look like. Okay, time. So if you were just speaking, now it's your turn to listen. So now the person who was listening will answer the same 3 questions. Okay, ready? Go. Okay, time. So if you could go back to your seats, and this is what we experience at parent cafes. This is the hard part. Parents don't want to stop once they get them started. Yeah. Okay. So what was that like for people? Yeah, so we'll hear from from here, our live site. What was that like for people? Anybody want to? So she said 2.5 minutes is a very long time to talk about yourself. I see a lot of nodding. Anybody else?
I can share, but not for the mic. So I think that the hardest part is that we feel like we want to validate somebody when you're talking to them, like, yeah. And part of that, we sometimes we would kind of redirect our conversation back to us, right? Like, oh my God, I experienced that same thing. I don't really talk to my neighbors. So it turns back to us. So it's hard, right? To really be an active listener when we're trying to like, yeah, like, oh my God, I know what you're like, kind of like validate them. So it's really hard. I feel that for me being a talker, listening is like, so yeah, it was really hard.
So it is hard not, you feel like you need to validate that person, really give your ideas or what your experience, what's happening. And that's kind of what happens naturally. What we learn in, when we host these, parents really find out really quickly whether they are a good listener or if maybe they've never even had an opportunity that day to talk without being interrupted. And 2.5 minutes isn't a long time, but when you have children and you're running around doing other things, you get caught up and you don't have those opportunities. What about for our people in Merced?
Is she?
How is it like for people in Merced?
Will
There
be
you go.
coming in.
Okay.
Right.
Who'd like
Um,
to,
but this meeting
express how it
is
was?
with Melinda and Miriam, and Miriam's like my counterpart.
Okay.
And they both work for Flow. And then Lisa and myself will be there.
So how was your experience doing the one-on-one activity?
Anybody want to respond? We needed a timer. Yes.
Was it easier to talk or was it easier to listen?
Yeah, we had one participant that talked the whole time and I thought it was great. We didn't notice that the 2.5 minutes was ever up.
That happens at parent cafes as well. Okay. Anything else you
We
want?
had wanted to ask questions, so it was hard kind of holding your questions in and to
Right.
continue being fully present.
Right.
I think when we do the one-on-one or in talking in general, when we're speaking to someone, we almost anticipate that they're going to say something to us while we're speaking. And a lot of times what that does is if we have a good, how many times, I'll just start with this, how many times we're talking about something and someone says something and we just lose our train of thought. And you're like, oh, what was I just thinking? It was like really good. So the one-on-one is almost giving you that opportunity to continue that train of thought. And when no one is jumping in, it can kind of be a little shocking where you're like, okay, I want you to say something, but it prepares you for what the parent cafe is all about, is that what you have to say is really worthy of other people hearing, and everyone's opportunity to talk is just as special, just as worthy, and as important. At first, it can always be a little alarming where you're just talking, you feel like you're just going on and rambling, but sometimes when you're going through those weeds of just talking and saying stuff, you get to something really good, you just start talking about it. And a lot of times it doesn't just stay on what the one-on-one question is. Some parents will say this, I'm Justin, I have 2 kids, and then I've had a really bad day, and they'll start talking about that. And so sometimes it's just an opportunity to have a chance to get something off your chest. And even if it's someone that you do not know, it's still that opportunity to say something, but then it gives the other person also the opportunity to say something as well. And after the 5 minutes, you have the opportunity to maybe ask a question to follow up if you would like to, because after the conversation, when we mix up all the tables and you're having the one-on-one, when we do the Butte County, like that will be the start of the conversation with the table of folks that you're at. So now you're not with the person you came with, you're with people that you generally might not know. So you have the opportunity now to have the follow-up conversation. But yeah, not being able to talk, because I'm always used to my kid interrupting me, or me interrupting him. We're both those people. So it's just really, the one-on-one is really just it's setting that tone of hearing, listening, and respecting the space that you're in.
Okay. Is there any questions online? Or we think we're good? Okay. So I'll hand it back over to Lori.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So we are at lunchtime, and what we're going to do is give you an hour for lunch. And we will, when we come back this afternoon, really excited because we're gonna go full force into Parent Cafe activity. So you're gonna get to experience part 2 of what it's like to participate in this, and that's probably one of my favorite things. I love it. And we're going to have Tina join us. Tina is one of our parents who participates in our Garrison Parent Cafe, and really excited to have her here to share her personal experience with you um, on her Parent Cafe journey and what that's been like for her and her family. And then we're going to have some time to talk about strategies and for you to sort of unpack some of the information and the cool stuff you heard from Justin and Jennifer, and talk about what aspects of this might work for you. What are you excited about? What you heard? What things you want to try when you leave here today? So that's all what we have planned for you this afternoon. So we will see you back here at 1, and we'll be ready to go. And we'll see you, Merced folks, too, back at 1.
Have this handout. It has the Parent Cafe outline with the 5 protective factors and agreements. We just want you to pay attention really to the agreements, and remember you're going to be speaking from the experience of a parent, or if you're not a parent, you're going to be speaking from the experience of how it was to be parented. How long?
How long do we have?
We have 30 minutes.
So let's do 15.
So we're going to do 15 minutes on the first question. How do you build a network of support that you can depend on? So you can introduce yourselves, and then that's the question that we'd like you all to focus on. And we'll call time, and then we'll give more instructions then. So Merced, your first question, you have it as well. And we'll go ahead and start the time now. This is, yes. You can join this table. Yeah. To share what that was like for you. If anyone in Merced would like to share, or online.
Oops. Okay, we had, hold on, gotta find it. Estella said that how she builds a network of support that she can depend on by reaching out to family members or agencies in my community. Carla said family members and friends is what kinds of relationships make her stronger. Carla said from Madera County, the relationship that makes you stronger is family, your faith, and friends. And then I'm going to unmute Monica.
Monica?
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, would anybody like to share what that experience was like, or thinking about what it might be like for the parents?
I think it's always a little hard to get started, but when someone, says their first comment, I would think the parents would feel encouraged to build on or give a different perspective too.
During these parent cafes, can the participants ask additional questions or clarifying questions?
Ask clarifying or additional questions of who? Of the person speaking, or of
Well,
who?
if we're given just specific questions, can can new questions be added to get more information? Because I felt myself wanting to ask the speakers additional questions, but I wasn't sure if that was in the rules.
Yes, for sure, you can do that. So if you're at the table having a conversation and something comes up that you really want to know more about, by all means, don't interrupt them and jump in, but by all means, once they're finished, if you want to have some follow-up dialogue with that, ask like, oh, how did that feel, or what did you do, or something like that. You're more than welcome to it. You can do. It's different from the one-on-one where you can do that. Man down. He's all right. Spider-Man down. You can by all means ask follow-up questions. So that's where it differs from the one-on-one.
Thank you.
And in the parent cafe, they have a cafe card at their table. So they actually have 5 questions to choose from. We just picked one just to make this experience go a little bit quicker for you all. Anything else? If not, we're going to move on to our parent perspective. And we have Tina and her grandson Jackson here with us in Modesto. Tina is a parent. Yay. Yeah. Tina is a parent and a grandparent. She attends our parent cafe at Garrison Elementary here in Stanislaus County. And this is our 3rd school year having them there. And Tina has been participating since the very beginning. So we're going to invite her to come over here. And Jackson, you can come over here too if you want. Or his. There's all kinds of support here. Okay. You're gonna stay with grandma, that's fine. All right. So you want to introduce yourself, Tina, and just say.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tina, and I am a parent and grandparent from Garrison Elementary. And I've been battling with this young one all day. He too will probably go to Garrison. No. Okay, I'm going to try to do this to the best of my ability. So I'm going to hand the mic back over to Jennifer.
Okay, so Tina, what do you like about Parent Cafe?
What I like about Parent Cafe is that I get different people's opinion or their, what's the word? Not really opinion, but how they are able to deal with or how to change a certain way that whether it be the community, the child's. So, yeah.
Okay. Have you seen any changes in yourself or in your family because of attending Parent Cafe?
I like the story that when the father comes home and gives his daughter 2.5 minutes of his time to just him sit there and listen. I use that a lot in my home. And my husband sometimes thinks that I'm not listening as well as my kids, but what I'm doing is utilizing some of the things that were taught to me. And I find them really able to help change my family and upbringings.
Why is Parent Cafe important to you?
Parent Cafe is important to me because it teaches me that there's different avenues and there's a lot of support out here in the community, and not only in family, but like I say, in the community, to where there is a lot of help out there that I didn't know up until I started going to Parent Cafe.
One thing I want to share is that Tina has come a long way with Parent Cafe. Um, she knows this. She was one of our parents who really wasn't quite sure about Parent Cafe, wasn't sure about sharing, and just came to watch, came for, just to see, bring her family. And we've really seen her grow from someone who was just waiting to see what prizes we had, and we're very it's been really unique experience to see her grow into a parent leader. And we have been talking with her now for the last couple of months about getting her trained to be a parent facilitator for parent cafes at Garrison, because she has really grown a lot. And her family, they were in the slideshow earlier, that they come every month and they're so excited and so willing to just really make it their own. And so I just want to thank you, Tina, for coming today and sharing. Is there anything else you'd like to share about Parent Cafe? Or
She mentioned about me facilitating one of the groups, and it's kind of hard because I'm a goof, and I like to go in and feel comfortable and be myself. And if I facilitate, then I have to like take off my hat and I have to be professional, and I can't just wear sweats like I do sometimes, because I just want to go and learn. And but it is something that I've been considering, uh, and hopefully we'll see what happens.
thank you, Tina. Does anyone have any questions for Tina? I know.
I was done.
In Merced or online? All right.
What's fun about the Parent Cafe is, honestly, you really want me to answer that? Yeah? The raffle. The raffle. The first time I went, I won a Keurig. And yeah, and I was in a wheelchair, and my kids were wanting me to come, and I was like, okay, well, you guys got to push me over there. And so, and I've been coming ever since. And the fun too about it is, like I say, I'm kind of like a clown inside the classroom. I'm one of those rebellious ones that, okay, it's time to move tables, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not moving from here. You got to move. This is my seat. So I don't know. I make fun of the group, in fun for the group, to where everybody else can have fun too. So. For the raffle. I like to see what the raffle prizes are. No, yes, it is the raffle. My kids keep me coming back as well. Um, it's something that's a family thing that we do once a month, is that I know that we're going to take the kids there. And so it's one of our family times that we do it.
What would you tell people in the community about Parent Cafe?
That there are a lot of support out there that people don't know of. And starting with the Center for Human Services, and they could direct you in the right place where you need to go.
Anybody else? Jackson, do you want to say bye? You want to say bye-bye?
Bye-bye.
Say bye. All right. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Jackson. Let's take them.
This is the working one, right? All right. Thank you. Thank you, Tina. We have a sandwich for her over there, right? Okay. Okay. Bye, Spider-Man. It's time for a nap. There he goes. Thank you again, Tina. So appreciate it. Thank you. I think for the Garrison Parent Cafe, one of the things that I do is I'm one of the food people. And when we first started doing these, we thought, oh, we'll just fix this meal ourselves. And, it's a lot of work to cook food for 60 to 100 people and seemed like a good idea at the time. And we struggled through it. And then one of the questions before was, gosh, how do you budget for this? The more that we began to tell the story about Parent Cafe, the more interest we got from people who really wanted to help. So we have a local family who has grocery stores here, and they said, we want to cook for you. So let us take care of the meal. Oh my God, yes. That's probably better for everybody. We have folks that have stepped up to donate and to pay for it. We've got champions in the community that do that. The lady around the corner who owns Maria's Taco Shop, her children went to Garrison, and so she's been a big supporter, which is really neat. But what's fun is the food person, because I'm usually picking it up and shuttling it, is I load up everything on the cart, and as soon as I walk on campus, the kids see, and they're like, oh, it's Parent Cafe night. Yay, it's Parent Cafe night. And then like Jennifer said, they start to harass their parents. It's like, we're going to go, right? We're going to go, right? Because they're seeing this great stuff walk in. So it's fun. You almost can't say enough about that initial time together when people are eating together and just sitting down, and kids are, eating or not eating. They might be playing, whatever it is, but it really does set a great tone for the evening. So really glad that Tina could come and share with us. So what we're going to do now, we're going to spend some time just sort of giving you an opportunity to think and process the many things that you heard. And today, what we have really been focused on is the Parent Cafe model, or the Parent Cafe project. And it is a way to engage parents, but it's not the only way. But it is a way that Justin and his agency and many of us in this county and other counties have really began to implement. But there are other ways that we can get parents socially connected. So what we want to do is have you in your groups, and Mary, you might want to come back and join this group. And in Merced County, we're going to spend a little time. We've got a couple questions that we would like you to spend some time talking to each other. And what I would like to do is to have somebody in the group be a recorder and somebody agree to be a reporter, which I know everybody kind of is always super happy to do the recorder part, but not the reporter part. But we're just spend a little time on a couple of questions, give you some time together. We have some handouts on the table that I referred to before. One of the sheets that you all have is called Knowledge to Action, and that's kind of what we're talking about in this section. So you've heard some great stuff. The next step is, where do we go from here? What is interesting to me? What might I do with this information? The Knowledge to Action sheet is a brief that gives you some information about how you might work individually with some parents that you're engaging. It talks about an eco mapping process that helps parents sort of define the different levels of relationships and social connections that they have out there. It's a really kind of a cool tool that a case manager or family advocate or somebody who's working individually with parents could sit down and use, especially for those parents that are coming that are maybe struggling with social connections or they don't really think they have a network. So that's, you have that on the table. You've got just a rough copy of a poster that this group in Michigan created about ways that they're helping to get their parents socially connected. It's, some different activity ideas that they're putting out there for parents. They have a website that parents can go to and just click and get ideas on the website. So, so we have up on the screen. Oh, you have the clicker. Yay. Thank you. So I'm really happy to not have to click. It's too much for me to think about. So on the screen, we have a couple questions for you. The first question is, what did you hear? And what's possible for you? So that's just, for you all in your various roles, your programs, or you might be wearing a couple different hats today. So that's something for you to think about. And the next question is, after hearing the presentation and the parent perspective, what are a couple things that you're going to take away today that's going to help help parents or folks in your community build social connections, which in turn is going to support their resiliency. So, Jennifer, we've got some Post-it paper that we're going to hand out for the recorder that can just kind of jot down some of your ideas and your thoughts that are coming. We'll do just a very brief report out in Merced and here. So we'll go ahead and get started with the groups, and you've got the questions up there. We're going to get you pens. Pick your recorder and pick your reporter. Hello, Monica, are you there? Hi. Earth to Monica, Earth to Monica, paging Monica. I can hear activity there, so I know. You're chatty. They're building their own social connections. You can hear me, Shane? Monica, are you there? Hello, Monica.
You need us?
Monica, are you there? Monica.
Say that again.
Monica. Hello. Hello. You there?
Yes. Yes. What do you need? Okay, guys, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me.
Oh, nice. There's a teacher for you.
Okay. Oh, they can hear us.
Hi, Monica. Okay, good. Sounds like, wow. Sounds like the Merced group is having some robust conversations. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a few minutes to do some reporting out. Monica, we're going to start with your crew first. So if you wouldn't mind having your having your folks who are going to be your reporters just share out a few things that came up for them for the questions, what did we hear? What's possible? And what are we learning that we're going to be taking back? So, and you're on.
Okay, so we broke up into small groups, and so probably what we can do is have each group, if everybody's okay, give a few highlights of what rose to the top. Does that sound okay?
Perfect.
Okay. Group one over here, do you need to refer to your notes, or can you kind of remember some of them?
I'll go.
Okay.
We just talked
Perfect.
a little bit about how our respective agencies might be able to partner in a way to make parent cafes. We currently have one expert in the room who has the one parent cafe group in Merced. And so we were just thinking, how can we partner and try to replicate that?
Monica, can you have your folks speak up a little bit? Or get closer to the mic? We
Sorry,
didn't.
can you hear me now? Go ahead. Can you hear me now?
That's better.
Yeah, that's better. Okay, so we were just talking a little bit about how each of our respective agencies might be able to partner and expand the one parent cafe that's offered in Merced County to serve more families and in more locations and through different service providers.
And I noticed in your notes you were also thinking about who could come in and provide the child care. You were brainstorming the adventure play group. Maybe they can come and do their part while the cafe is going on. So really brainstorming this cross-sector and cross-agency collaboration. That's great.
That's great. Thank you.
No,
one more thing.
So I'm going to ask Donna to talk about the kind of regional effort with exceptional parents.
Oh, okay. Exceptional Parents in the Fresno area was awarded a grant, and they want to bring Parent Cafe to the valley. So we're 6 county-wide from Tulare County to here in Merced County, Mariposa. On to Kings and I can't think of Fresno, and there's another county, but I can't think of it, Madera. So they want to start doing parent cafes throughout the valley, and they received their grant. Now they're in the process of seeing who they can talk to, and I did give them your number, Monica, and your email information so that they can contact Monica and possibly bring that here, and they have the funds. So
wow, what great timing. For this county.
Yeah.
Terrific. Thank you. And that's our regional center. The grant was through the regional center?
It wasn't through the regional
Okay.
center. They actually got it through, I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure where they received it.
Find that information. Yeah. Because we are all interested in who can fund this work. Group number 2, what were some of your highlights?
Awesome. Thank you. Funding is definitely important. I'm glad you guys had a chance to share ideas and thoughts about that. Who's next?
Got a couple more responses. Here we go.
I guess the thing that was a little bit different for ours is that we feel like we already know the targeted group of parents, and we even have places where we think that this could work really well. And we also used it as an opportunity to talk about parent-to-parent support and mentoring. And we also wanted to provide take it a step further and help these parents come together in a way so that they would be able to support each other long-term outside of just even the support group itself or the parent cafe itself. And we also talked a lot about parents that have children that have special needs or children that have challenging behaviors, and those parents are really struggling with even just being able to go out to dinner and those really simple things, what works for those parents and things like that.
Well, and that brings up a point that the parent cafe and the child care will need to be welcoming of all children of all abilities as well, because sometimes it's hard to leave the house because it's hard to leave the house.
Yeah. I don't think they can leave challenging children out of it, no.
This group.
Well, in our group, we were talking a little bit about how we could create the different cafe for foster parents or adopted parents, because we have a staff here that he's the adopted parent, and there were no support for the adopted parents. So we're thinking about a cafe for that one.
Anything else from our group? We talked about a lot.
And maybe also for grandparents that raising kids.
Great. Thank you, Monica. Anybody else?
Any last thoughts?
I thought of creating the cohort
Oh, yes.
so that maybe we have a cohort here that can work on that parent cafe, so it's not everybody's doing one on their own. So we're not splitting up resources. We're not splitting up trying to go to one restaurant and then 3 people go to that restaurant.
That's great.
One more comment. Sorry, you got us thinking.
So building on that, one of the little thoughts we had was some sort of a network, building, some way of keeping the information, the facilitators connected.
What a great idea. Great idea. All right, I think
Monica,
we can pass it back to you.
Hey, Monica, just for one quick second, the last person that shared, could you just quickly summarize what she said, because we were having trouble hearing her.
Oh, it was a fantastic idea about having a network of parent cafe facilitators. And so instead of everybody conducting parent cafes on their own, really having their own way to group together to make sure they're maintaining fidelity and learning from each other as they take it out to their respective participants.
Nice, yeah. That's great. I love the couple comments about working together, creating a cohort, getting everybody kind of rowing in the same direction together instead of trying to go about doing this in isolation. So those are all great ideas. Thanks so much, you guys, for spending the time and brainstorming and sharing. Now we're going to go to the folks here in Stanislaus and get some reflections. So who do I have? Who's going to be reporting out for y'all, this group? Damien? All right, I'm gonna actually just hand this over to you.
Yeah. So our group, for the first part, for the first question, the first part, what did you hear? So our group, we heard how Parent Cafe brings community and highlighted community together. So how Parent Cafe brings the community together. We also identified and heard about successful stories, the importance and significance of social connections, the opportunity for family bonding. We also heard that there's an educational component that's part of the Parent Cafe, and just in general shared experiences. For the second part of the first question, what is possible? And we frame that in terms of what is possible in our scope of work. So in our scope of work, the possibilities are, one would be resources, that many of us in our group have access to or knowledge of resources, that we also have the opportunity through our networks to be able to continue to engage the community and community members. What is also possible, a consideration that came up was using the cafe model to fidelity. So I think that the people in Merced had mentioned that as well, ensuring that the Parent Cafe is implemented and facilitated as it was designed, and overall connecting parents, staff, and the school. So that was for question one. For question two, what are one or two things, I think we have more than that, but I'll go quickly. One or two things the take back to build social connection and resiliency. One is to have a a continued discussion and advocacy for an integration of the 5 protective factors, the importance of the one-on-one activity, listening to others' perspectives, other parents' perspectives, the importance of leadership roles, incentives, and overall family activity.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing. Over here, who's our, it looks like we had a couple people defect from this group.
Every table that I'm at, they defect.
Okay, so what did we hear? For us, it was a way for parents to connect and also a way for parents to process and gain points of view for what is possible. To become a parent cafe facilitator and to identify with clients earlier in the process. What did we learn today? Parent cafes are a way for families to socially connect as well as learn. Food and raffles entice families to attend.
Thank you. Diva's over there in the corner. Do we have any online any online comments? No online comments. We know you're out there though, online people. We appreciate you. Okay. We are we're going to be wrapping up in a few minutes, but I just a couple things before we get going. One is that I want to again just offer my appreciation to you all for being here and for especially if you haven't been to a learning community before. We are going to be doing 4 of these this year. I'm encouraging you all to come back and come to all of these so that when we're talking about strengthening families and building on protective factors, and particularly building resilience for the families and folks that we're working with, that you're going to get some key learnings from your time here. And in what we're going to be featuring on December 12th is going to be our next learning community. We're really excited to have Sam Ju come and join us. And Sam is the director of the Magnolia Community Initiative. And this is a really, really fascinating group of folks in Los Angeles who have done some terrific work with I think they have over 70 partners that are a part of the initiative. And, their goal is to really improve the quality of life for children and families within the radius of where they're at in LA. And even though we are, since we're valley communities, we're kind of a mix of rural, we've got, some urban, we've got some diversity among us, and LA is just about as urban as you can get. Jennifer and I visited there last month, and we were just really blown away by some of the work that they're doing, and believe that some of that could happen in the valley where we're at. So we're really excited to host Sam. We will be sending out more information about the learning community. I'm not sure exactly where we're going to have the live convening yet, but we will definitely let you know. If you're on our mailing list, you will get that information. So we'll be sure and let you know about that. Again, you can go back to the Strategies website to enroll in the learning community or any other learning communities. And I think that'll be open, Shane, like maybe a month in advance for registration? Okay, I think this one will be really popular, so we're looking forward to it. And during that time with Sam, we're going to be exploring how providing concrete support can build resiliency in folks that we're working with. The other thing that I want to encourage you all to do, because it's really important to us, is to get your feedback. So we have evaluations on all the tables. So I'm going to encourage you to take the time to fill those out. We're always looking for feedback to help us understand what's important and valuable to you and your time. I know it's sometimes a lot to give up a whole day to be in an event like this, and we certainly hope that it's been productive and good and positive for you. Finally, a couple other things. Jennifer and I recently sent out an e-newsletter. So if you're not on our mailing list, hopefully you are now that we've got your email address. But what we're going to be doing, since we only have 4 learning communities that we're doing like in person or remotely, we're going to be sending out a newsletter to people on our Valley Learning Community list with resources and information and links to articles that we think could be helpful for you as it relates to the protective factors in building resiliency. So we're really excited about that. We were trying to think of a way to keep people connected and engaged in some of the conversations that we're starting today. So look for that. We will be emailing those to you next month, and then we'll be back in December. And then, do I have another slide, Shane? Is that it? Okay, so that is going to be, one more thing I forgot. I forgot the raffle. Just like our, if we were in Parent Cafe and we forgot the raffle, that would not happen, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to draw some names for our raffle winners. And what we have to give away are the Parent Cafe cards in a box. So these are the questions. So the questions that you had today, and these are in Spanish on one side, English on the other. These are the questions that we use in the Parent Cafe programs that we do, and they're all the questions are just on the individual cards and cover all the protective factors. So we're going to give some of those away now. So who do we have first here? Okay, Merced. It's almost as good as the lottery winning without the money, right? Okay, so the winner of the first deck of Parent Cafe cards is Rosie Martinez. Yay! Yay! Oh, that was like, I feel like a game show host now. Come on down, Rosie. Rosie, we will get those. I think what we'll do is we'll probably either send those to you directly, or maybe we'll get them to Monica. We'll make sure that you get your cards. I trust Monica that she'll give them to you if I actually give them to her. And so for our online participant, feel free to cheer for this person, even though they're not with us. Carla Gomez. Woo! So Carla Gomez, if you're, what's that? Madera County, yay. All right, Madera County, we understand you're going to be a remote site host for us next time around, so we're excited about that. Carla will have some cards. We will get those to you, Carla. Yay! And then finally, for Stanislaus County, it's a big moment. It's very exciting. Well, except I think she left. Shamari Lathan from the Child Abuse Prevention Council. Are we doing must be present to win, right? Sorry, Shamari. Okay. Well, this is a small one. I think she left too. There's going to be a winner in here somewhere. Ariana, are you here still? No, darn it. You're not getting any. We took your name out of the hat. I don't think she's here either. La Fatima is not here, right? Nicole. Yay! Woo! finally got a winner. And Nicole's here. She can actually get her cards. All right. All right. Thank you, everyone. We're again, or appreciate you being here, and we look forward to seeing you again on December 12th. Look for more details. And oh, I forgot. We have one more. We have one more thing to give away. Let's do a Merced. Is this Merced? So what we have for you now, we're going to go to Merced County. We have these two chronographs that are called Vehicles for Change. There's some great work in here that talks about the history of family resource centers to current day, the shape of the family resource center field, and a lot of just really great information about where we've been and where we're going, and some strategies to begin to look at and work with your partners around. So we have this to give away, and let's see here. So the person that we have in Merced who'll be getting these lovely monographs is Nu Chang. Yay! Well, make sure you get these, Nu. Congratulations. Is there anybody you want to thank for your award? Oh, just kidding. I think that's it. So now we're really done. We've given away the last prize. We will have more in December. Thank you all.